God doesn't always plan. God's plans are weird sometimes.
Yeah.
They don't make sense.
Yeah.
They never have. My stepfather is a Marine. I would say he was a former Marine, but according to the Marines, there's no such thing as a former Marine. And he wasn't one of those Marines that wore tattoos or anything to say that he was a Marine or that he was Special Forces. He didn't need to. The way my brother-in-law says it, my stepdad had it tattooed on his heart. You can tell. And one of the things my stepdad loved to do is battle strategies. He loved to study them. He loved to understand them. Whenever I talk about my stepdad, I got to tell you my favorite quote that he ever said was, "I'm better at killing people than I am talking to them." And from what I understand, he was possibly a sniper and possibly actually did kill people. So, but we can't talk about that. Nobody knows. There's a lot of things we can't say. But he loved to study battle strategies and how things worked. He liked chess, so he understood the moves on chess and the different ways the pieces moved and how to win at this game. He put together Dungeons and Dragons activity. Apparently there's a club and there's pieces and they move things around and they work on how's the best way to win this battle, and he loved that kind of stuff. And he understood war and how to win a battle. I've been talking to you guys the past couple of Sundays about a battle in the Bible. I've been calling this sub-series Jericho Stories. Yeah, we're talking about the Battle of Jericho. So if you want to catch up with me, I'm going to be coming out of Joshua chapter 6. If you want to turn your Bibles there. Or scan your PDAs too, or iPhones, or whatever. I'm an analog man, and I don't even have my digital converter anymore. But we read the story of Jericho and Joshua coming in, and part of his conquest makes sense. And the battle strategy of taking the land of Canaan makes sense. Because I was reading on one part where you go down, he went through the center of the land, and then he took either the north or the south, and then he worked on the south. Or, well, it depends on how you're looking at the map. And that's a great strategy. That worked well. That battle plan, that way of conquesting a land was perfect, divide and conquer. However, the battle strategies they used to actually take certain cities made no sense whatsoever. And here we are at the Battle of Jericho. And we're just going to read through most of the chapter and find out. And I know. I want to say this. I'm kind of doing this in a really weird way because I already talked about the end of the battle and I talked about the beginning of the battle, and now we're finally getting to the battle. So Joshua chapter 6 starts off this. Now Jericho was shut up inside and out because of the Israelites. No one came out and no one went in. Jericho, get the picture here. Jericho fortified, big city. Everybody closed the doors. The windows were, if they could close the windows were locked. Whatever. Nobody went in and out. This was before the Israelites even got there. They knew that they were coming. They heard the whispers. And let me back up. I want to actually start off in Joshua chapter 5, starting with verse 13, because this is an important thing. Now, I wanted you to get the picture that Jericho was shut up. Jericho was shut up, inside and out. Nobody was in there. But we'll backtrack to chapter 5, verse 13. It says, once, when Joshua was by Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing there before him, with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went to him and said to him, "Are you one of us, or one of our adversaries?" He replied, "Neither. But as commander of the army of the Lord, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped, and said to him, "What do you command your servant, my Lord?" The commander of the army of the Lord said to Joshua, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy." And Joshua did so. Verse 2 of 6 says, "The Lord said to Joshua, see, I have handed Jericho over to you, along with its king and its soldiers. You shall march around the city, all the warriors circling the city once. Thus you shall do for 6 days." This is the battle plan. March around the city for 6 days, once a day, with 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of the ram's horn before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, the priests blowing the trumpets. When they make a long blast with the ram's horns, as soon as you hear the sound, then the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall charge straight ahead. So Joshua, son of Nun, summoned the priests and said to them, "Take up the ark of the covenant, and have 7 priests carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark of the Lord." To the people he said, "Go forward and march around the city. Have the armed men pass on before the ark of the Lord." Hold it right there for a second. So here's the battle plan. Okay? This is the great strategy that's going to happen. We're going to roll up the tanks. We're going to take catapults, and we're going to start, and we're going to storm the city. That's how you take a city, right? Have you ever seen Lord of the Rings? No, Kingdom of Heaven. Have you ever seen the movie The Kingdom of Heaven? When the Muslims were taking Jerusalem, what did they do? They took these siege towers. They had these big towers that held catapults and battering rams, and you put those up to the city, and you hit the wall until it breaks. You take catapults and you launch huge rocks at the city until the walls fall down. And then you got people with bows and arrows shooting into the city. You got your swordsmen running into the city before the walls fall down. That is a battle strategy right there, people. That's how you take a city. That's my plan. If I'm going to take a walled city, I'm taking tanks, catapults, guns, whatever, missiles. That's my plan. But God tells them this: I want you guys to have a parade around the city. Once a day, I want you to just walk around the city. Everybody, just walk around the city. The next day, do the same thing. And on the 7th day, I want you to do it 7 times. And then I want you guys to just blow horns and shout. Okay, I'm Joshua hearing this. I'm thinking, sure, God, that's going to work. Whatever. I'm okay. My plan is different than what God's plan is, right? God's plan, so this is my plan. The battle plan is mine. The battle plan is God's. Is it going to work? I don't know. Let's read on the story. It says, as Joshua had commanded the people, 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord went forward, blowing the trumpets with the ark of the covenant. And the Lord followed, and with the covenant, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, too many O's in there, following them. And the armed men went before the priests and blew the trumpets. And the rear guard came after the ark while the trumpets blew continually. To the people, Joshua gave this command: you shall not shout, or let your voice be heard. Nor shall you utter a word until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout. So the ark of the Lord went around the city, circling it once, and they came into the camp and spent the night in the camp. Can you imagine, for a moment, living in Jericho? Day one. You see all the Israelites there. You knew they were coming. You're expecting the worst. You're expecting them to come and attack you. You got your sword on one hand. You got your running shoes on another, just in case the sword's not working, right? You're ready to go, fight, or flight. And then you look out and you see them just starting a parade. It's a parade, brother. I mean, look, they're blowing horns. They've got this great, huge, shiny float going in front of them that they're carrying. That's pretty. It's made of solid gold. Let's take a look at it. They've got horns. They got the armed guard in front of them, but they're like the, what are those guys in the fez caps that always go? The Shriners, yeah. They're just like the Shriners. They're not really important. They're just, we don't know what the Shriners, no offense to any Shriners who are out there or anything, but, or, they're not, and then they've got the marching band. This is the first, I think this is probably the first written history of a parade marching band. You know, the band's playing, they've got a float, there are all the people just, and they're not saying a word. Joshua told them, don't